If you could do it all over again, would you go into physical therapy? Man, that's a good question. And if I'm honest with you, hey guys, welcome to the channel. If we haven't met before, I'm Tim Fraticelli. I'm a physical therapist, and on this channel we love talking about all things physical therapy, especially physical therapy career. And if you're thinking about becoming a physical therapist, this is probably one of the best questions you could ask a physical therapist when you're shadowing them. The question is this: if you could do it all over again, would you go into physical therapy or a different field? And when someone asked me that earlier this year, it really made me think for a minute, because I started my career outside of physical therapy. I mean, right out of college, I worked in finance for 5 years before starting PT school. And if you're curious to know why I became a physical therapist, you can watch that video right here. But this question is just as good, and it might even be better, in my opinion. If you could do it all over again, would you go into physical therapy? Man, that's a good question. And if I'm honest with you, I might have personally advised my younger self to consider a different route than I actually took. And let me explain here. If I could do it all over again, and I was set on becoming a physical therapist, the first thing I would advise my younger self to do is that I would have made it a priority to go to an affordable state school. Now, you've heard me say this before in previous videos. I just don't think that physical therapists should graduate with student loans that's more than 1 times their potential starting salary. And for most PTs, that starting salary is less than $80,000. So if I could do it all over again, I would keep all my debt under $80,000. Now, here's the thing. I started PT school with some undergraduate debt as well as grad school debt, since I finished an MBA right out of my undergrad. So I had too much student loan debt to start, and then I added over $100,000 from a private PT school. It's just not something that I can recommend to new students to do if they're interested in physical therapy. So from a cost standpoint, would I do it again? Sure, I would do it as long as I could keep the total costs under $80,000, which is possible. But I would advise my younger self that it would still be worth doing from a financial standpoint if you can keep the student loans under $80,000. Finishing PT school with more than $100,000, $150,000, there are students graduating with $200,000 in student loans to become a physical therapist. I would advise you against that. That's not a smart financial move. And if I could advise my younger self, I would keep it all under $80,000. Okay, moving on to number 2. From a professional standpoint, would I choose physical therapy over other healthcare careers? Now, we're talking about the actual work now, the day-to-day tasks, the responsibilities of a physical therapist. And basically, is it what I expected, or knowing what I know now, would I pick a different career in healthcare or an entirely different field for that matter? I'm going to be honest with you, there are some jobs in physical therapy that you could not pay me enough to do. I mean, there are some private practice physical therapy clinics out there that are absolutely awful in terms of work environment and unethical practices, but there are also some things that I really enjoy doing that I would do for free in physical therapy. But as you know, my student loans aren't paid with warm, fuzzy feelings and good thoughts, so getting paid to do physical therapy is very important. But it's also important that you enjoy the work you do, and that you come home at night feeling like you made a difference in people's lives, and you didn't just pad the pockets of private practice owners who think that it's okay to see 2 to 3 patients at a time, bouncing them between therapy aides so they can maximize the clinic schedule and income statements. That's not right. So while you do have those types of clinics that I would never step foot in, I do still feel very fortunate that I can say that I enjoy the type of work that I do in physical therapy. I mean, as you may know, I've been a physical therapist in the home health setting, and as well as in a hospital outpatient clinic. And those are my preferred choices for work as a physical therapist. It's the type of work that I saw when I shadowed a PT for over 200 hours in a 5-month time frame before even starting physical therapy school. So my expectations for that work align with the reality of what I'm doing, which is why I really emphasize the importance of shadowing multiple physical therapists and even other healthcare providers like physician's assistants, nurses, and even physicians themselves, because you might even find that you like the type of work that a sports medicine physician does, but you don't really know until you shadow someone. So that's why it's so important to shadow. And if I could do it all over again, I would probably recommend to my younger self that I should shadow a few more healthcare professionals. And it's not because I regret my choice to become a physical therapist, but I honestly don't know that if I gave myself the opportunity to explore other healthcare professions, I might have found something that I really enjoyed better, but I didn't take the time to look or even explore more options. So that's something that I would have told my younger self to do. And for the third point to answer this question, would you do it all over again? I want to address the underlying fear that probably led you to click on this video in the first place, the fear that you might regret your choice to become a physical therapist. And I'd be lying to you if I said that every physical therapist was happy with their job, because it's a fact that a lot of physical therapists become burnt out very quickly. Like physicians and other healthcare professionals, there are hundreds of therapists each month searching for non-clinical jobs because they just don't want to practice in the clinic anymore. Shoot, within the first 2 months of a job as a physical therapist, I quit because I didn't agree with what was happening in the clinic. And I thought, did I just make this a huge mistake getting into this profession? And if I understood the reality of clinician burnout, or how there are so many clinics that do some very questionable and unethical things. If I knew these things early on, would I still have made the choice to become a physical therapist? Now, if I can go back and give myself some advice on this, it would be that in almost any career, especially in healthcare, but with every career that you're in, you face the reality of a burnout, the risk of burnout, and some situations you're just not going to align with from an ethical standpoint. And if you stop pushing yourself to improve your skills or to challenge yourself professionally, you can fall into a spiral of boredom and monotony that leaves you wondering if the grass is greener had you chosen a different career. And all these things can happen in physical therapy just like any other career. But here's what I don't regret. I don't regret studying things that are interesting to me. And early in my career that started out with business and finance. I loved it and I still do. And I don't regret pursuing new challenges and exploring new opportunities like shadowing a physical therapist for months to learn about this area of healthcare and if it's something that I would be interested in doing. And most of all, I don't regret the different work experiences that I have from a career in finance to becoming a physical therapist and building multiple businesses along the way, because when I look back, this is how I can see all of these experiences have shaped my skill set, my interests, and it's my unique way to make a difference through the work that I enjoy doing. So whether or not you decide to become a physical therapist or a physician or a nurse or a banker or an engineer, the important thing is to realize that all of your experiences and all of your interests, they're going to shape the work that you end up doing. And it may not look exactly like what you envisioned, so just be careful not to be so quick to call it a regret because it looks a little different than what you expected. And while I may have done some things a little bit differently, if I could rewind the clock, the truth is, I don't regret any of my work experiences or education because they've all played an important part, whether it's good or bad, in shaping who I am today and where I am. I hope this video helps as you consider career options like physical therapy, or if you're currently a physical therapist who's questioning whether or not you made the right career choice. Either way, I'd love for you to join the PTProgress community by subscribing and stick around for more helpful career videos like this one right here.